A week after he retired, he was diagnosed with cancer. Never heard that before, my friends, or some story along these lines. So check this out. This is an article called Meet the Oversavers, Older Americans Who Have Plenty for Retirement But Wish They Worked Less and Vacationed More. Dude, I tell you, man, who sent this to me the other day? Ricky has sent me a video about these people saying, never retire, work longer, because they made bad choices. And I was just like, it's funny how they never say how they spent their money while they're working. They never say that. The people say, I wish I never retired. Now we have mortgage, or we have credit card debt, we got home equity debt, we took Social Security early. They never say what their spending habits are. They just say, I should never retire. My advice to you is never retire. Yeah, you always hear that, but you never hear what put them in that situation. Now you get the exact opposite. Here's, let's see right here. Joshua Winston did a pretty good job preparing for retirement. He ran 2 successful veterinary clinics, made smart investments, and lived frugally. But a week after he retired in May, he was diagnosed with cancer. Now he regrets working such long hours during his career, often missing out on trips and date nights. He's one of a few dozen respondents to an informal survey who said they worked too hard. In fact, they're among the 3,600 older Americans who shared their life regrets through surveys, direct mails to reporters. This story is part of an ongoing series. Some respondents thought they're behind on retirement goals and chose to bypass larger purchases, only realized they're well prepared and too cautious about getting there. I wonder why that'd be. A few said traumatic experiences, such as the death of the loved one or a catastrophic medical diagnosis, made them anxious about saving money for another emergency. Boy. Here's Dylan Tyson, the president of retirement strategies at Prudential, described the mindset of the oversaver. You're cutting back on living, not taking that extra trip because you're worried that you don't have saved enough. Wonder why that'd be. Winston, who lives in Arizona, spent much of his career in veterinary work. Throughout his life, he drove modest vehicles, lived in an upper middle class house, was cautious about making larger purchases. Nothing wrong with that at all, dude. Nothing wrong about being cautious, driving older cars. He lives in an upper middle class neighborhood like me. Nothing wrong with that, dude. We have, in fact, I was just thinking about the other day, our oldest car is 2012, so 13 years old, Toyota Highlander. My kids still drive it. It's fine. You know what I'm saying? My own car is 7 years old, still drive. Actually, it's in the shop right now, but still drive it. No problem at all. Got 125,000 miles on it. No big deal. I don't need a fancy car. I can't stand the idea of buying a new car. It drives me insane. Like, I don't want to waste my money on that. With that said, though, my wife and 2 daughters are in Amsterdam as we speak. You know what I'm saying? Because they're having fun, partying like it's 1899. And we don't have any problem. As long as we got the cash flow to afford this stuff and to still save. Every time I do this, by the way, I got a big old bear right here who's wanting a pet. A big old bear in the big blue house. So just because you're living frugally doesn't mean you're robbing yourself, but you are robbing yourself of time if you continue to dig the ditches for the man. I got 16 tons, and what do I get? Another year older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. You can give me a thumbs up for that freaking awesome saying. He retired with about $6 million. There he is, Joshua Winston. About $3 million, but he wished he spent some of that on his assistant, for his practice, so he wouldn't need to work nights running an emergency vet line. Yep. It sucked the oxygen out of my life. I could never watch a movie when I went out with my wife because I would get a dozen phone calls. He planned to spend some of his savings in retirement, but since he's been diagnosed with lung cancer, and life has been hell since then. With millions of Americans facing uncertainty, there's always uncertainty. I don't care who you are, where you are. Here's Ruthie Mills. She began saving later in life, but amassed 7 figures through frugal living and careful investing. The Minnesota resident had children in her 20s and finances were tight. As a single mom, she had multiple jobs, working odd jobs as a part-time in-home personal care assistant in addition to full-time work. She worked her way up to a senior accounting office for the state. She said she missed out so much and cared for her children, she missed opportunities to go out with friends and travel more. In fact, I got an email from a lady today who's a registered nurse who does when babies are being popped out, delivery nurse or something like that. She goes, I don't mind my job. I just getting older. I don't know if I can physically take it, but I want to be able to know if I can retire. I said, yeah, 100%. Just let's crunch these numbers and see. I can't guarantee anything, but why not? You don't want to be sitting there to your last day, freaking digging the ditches for the man when it's not, no, man. Here she is right there, Ruthie Mills. She often missed dinners with friends while raising her children. I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, you should raise her children first, Ruthie. She pushed back on a trip to Ireland that she's now no longer physically equipped to take. She recently downsized her house and hopes to retire soon and use her retirement years to spoil her grandchildren in an active lifestyle. Yeah, 100%, man. That's nothing wrong with that. Let's see. Missing at Kirk's, this guy Kirk right here, Captain Kirk, said he didn't realize he was doing such a good job of preparing for retirement. He's a retired California attorney who has to only use his first name because his first name is actually Captain. He worked for various financial institutions and maxed out his 401k. He's got over a $1.1 million in tax-deferred savings. However, he feared a market crash would derail his plans for comfort retirement. It's just sad, dude. Anyway, don't let that be you, man. I mean, how do you know until you actually crunch the numbers? Come here. 16 tons in. What do I get? Another year older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, because I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. You don't want to be owing your soul to the company store. You want to be freaking out there partying like it's 1899. You know what I'm saying? And just doing the things you want to do. And that means, I don't know, I like to read. I like to be outside in the sun. I like my pups. I like to grill New York strip because, as we all know, ribeye is nasty compared to New York strip. When I said ribeye is nasty, I'm not saying it's nasty. I'm saying it's nasty as compared to New York strip, my friends. So get it right. Ribeye isn't nasty. It didn't say it's nasty. It says nasty compared to New York strip. That's just basic science, by the way. Now, God bless. Love your thoughts.